Hello class and welcome to the Super Mario Bros. 3 walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Briggins. I'm your instructor, Professor Briggins, and a couple of years ago we did our complete class on Super Mario Bros. 3, showing every stage, every secret, every in and out for this platforming classic. Some calling this the greatest Mario game, or maybe game in general of all time, and there's certainly an argument for both. So you can check that out via the playlist in the description, but I have to admit though, growing up and playing this game a lot, more than half the time I'd beat it using the warp whistles as quickly as possible. Yeah, this is just a very satisfying game to knock out quickly, great as the entire game is, so I thought it'd be fun to put together a much shorter class showing step for step how to speedrun this game as intended in about 15 minutes. In terms of difficulty, speedrunning this game as intended means that you don't have the slow ramp-up of difficulty or the spoils of items you'd accrue from playing through the entire game. You're getting thrust straight into Darkland where there are some formidable stages to complete without the luxury of a P-Wing or a Cloud to mitigate the difficulty or skip the level altogether. With all this in mind, I'm going to give speedrunning Super Mario Bros. 3 as intended a 6 out of 10, which on the frustration scale equates to biting down and then throwing your controller across the room, probably on the airship level, but fear not, we've got all the tips to get you through this intended speedrun route as seamlessly and deathlessly as possible. And you'll note I continue to mention as intended. There is a hacky, glitchy way to beat this game in about 3 minutes, and Fluff will be talking about that a bit later as he shares some additional facts about this game he didn't cover the first time, and we might have a small surprise on top of that. So let's run the intro and get into the Super Mario Bros. 3 speedrun walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Alright, as we begin a new game, I'm going to assume if you're attempting a Super Mario Bros. 3 speedrun, you probably already know the controls, but this is still Video Games 101, so we're going to show them just the same. Note that the Tanuki suit line right there won't apply. There's no Tanuki suits on the speedrun, but there you go. As we shift over to the Super Mario Bros. 3 speedrun walkthrough Briggs notes, the keys to beating this game as quickly as possible. Just follow this guide, we got you covered, and then optional, if you want to complete the first world all the way through to make Darkland a little bit easier by securing a P-Wing, you can go ahead and do that, but we're going to assume you don't need to do that. And if you're following along, you won't need to do that, but grab that super leaf right there. You can fly up here and grab yourself an insurance 1-up, but otherwise we're just going to be using this to fly through the level as quickly as possible. And as always, if you have that maxed out P bar and you're going at full speed, once you run to the right and jump into that box, you can grab yourself a star card right there. Grab 2 more by the end of this to get ourselves 5 extra lives at some point. But on to 1-2 now, another level which is unavoidable if you're going for the speed run, no matter which type of speed run you're doing, the legitimate one or the hacky glitchy one, which Fluff again we'll talk about as he shares some more facts a little bit later. We're just trying to get through this stage as quickly as possible. Once again, full P bar, full speed, hitting that, and getting ourselves the second star card right there, 1 away. And now, one essential level to come through here is we have a choice. We're going to go to 1-3 and head to the right here to grab our first of 2 warp whistles, which we'll need to access Darkland. So to get it, I'm going to go on this white rectangular block right here and hold down after we take care of that Koopa Troopa. Hold down for about 4 seconds and you'll drop through. Make sure no one hits you as you're going to the right. And you'll find this hidden area here to grab yourself the first of 3 warp whistles here in Super Mario Bros. 3. We're only going to need 2 to get where we're going though. You can go into that item mushroom house right there if you want to grab yourself either a mushroom, a fire flower, or another super leaf. You can grab yourself a fire flower from that box, or a mushroom if you're small Mario, but we want the super leaf from this box here if you don't already have one. Knock out that dry bones, get some speed, and then be very careful when you fly up here. Up and over, go to the right, and then push up in the corner. We got ourselves the second warp whistle, and we're gonna use the first one right here now, here in Grassland. And we're gonna use the second one right here in the special warp area. And this will jump us right ahead to Darkland, World 8 here. And now we're heading to the first tank level here in Darkland. And you'll notice a substantial ratchet up of difficulty here, starting with this stage. Doesn't move too quickly, as you can see, and I will say having the Super Leaf goes a very long way in pretty much every stage here in Darkland. It's important for the tank levels and all the levels that are moving here in Darkland, simply because there's so many projectiles, and it helps to be able to stagger your drop speed with that raccoon tail right there. Just tap A as you're coming down to slow down your descent, and then thread the needle between the many projectiles, whether they're cannonballs, they're wrenches, bombs, what have you. It's best to take out these rocky wrenches by popping on their heads. Popping on their heads? You can grab that item right there if you're Super Mario, just by doing that little slide and duck. Otherwise, if you're just small Mario, you can just walk on right in, grab yourself a mushroom there. Yeah, generally, most of the time, the rocky wrenches don't respawn, so just get a feel for their timing right there when they choose to toss their wrench. Mind the giant cannon upcoming here. Be ready to duck. Bowser went all in on the small cannons, but he bought a couple of the big boys as well. On Bowser's ship next, we're going to use that trick where you can swim underneath it, so just follow along or refer to our full class for more information on that. But this is the best time to throw it to Fluff for those quick facts about Super Mario Bros. 3.
I shared dozens of interesting facts about Super Mario Bros. 3 in our original class on it, but in honor of this Super Mario Bros. 3 speedrun guide, here's some lightning fast facts I didn't share last time. For instance, the back of the box contains 3 stills from the game, one of which depicts a level which isn't even in the final version of the game. The island chain, which houses the castle of World 3, loosely depicts the shape of the islands of Japan. Speaking of Japan, or more specifically the original Japanese version, this game is more difficult in Japan because in the Famicom version, if you get hit while you have a Fire Flower or Super Leaf, you instantly get downgraded to Small Mario, whereas in the Western version, you still retain your size. I think the professor mentioned this one in the full class, but if you defeat a Boom Boom with the star power-up, the question mark appears upside down. I did a deep dive on how to clean up in the card matching minigame in our full class, but there was also a dice rolling minigame designed but ultimately dropped during development, and its code still exists within the game. Speaking of scrapped content, the developers initially envisioned a power-up which would change Mario into a mythical half-horse, half-human centaur before they settled on a Tanuki suit instead. Warp whistles are required to do a conventional speedrun here in Super Mario Bros. 3, and the tune they play when you use one is the same one which plays when you use a whistle in The Legend of Zelda, which incidentally also allows you to warp, in that game's case to various spots around the map. And lastly, to bring this list of facts back to the focus of this class, which is the speedrun of Super Mario Bros. 3, it's actually possible to cheat, beat this game in 3 minutes, but as you'd expect, it requires taking advantage of some stupid game-breaking glitches after warping to stage 7-1 to force the game to send you to the room with the princess where you'll see the ending as normal.
We don't have footage of that glitch?
No, it's a whole series of killing certain Koopa Troopas on that stage, leaving some alive, jumping in certain spots. I thought about doing it, but then I just went and carried on with my life. I instead devoted a fraction of that time to creating a new award I'd like to give out for the first time here on Video Games 101.
Oh, nice. This is exciting. So you've got an award that you want to give out, Fluff?
Yep. Gary's got his Toughest Boss award. Blaze has like 1 million awards he gives out. So it's finally my turn as, for the first time here on Video Games 101, I'm giving out to the person who discovered this glitch the Too Much Time on Their Hands award for Super Mario Bros. 3. figuring out how to beat this game in a couple minutes is cool and all, but spend some time with your cat or something.
I like it. I gotta say that I just think it's funny.
What?
Well, you and Mario, you agreed on something.
What do you mean?
That's that surprise I mentioned. Hold on, where was that outtake from our full class? So I know you're a fan of warping Mario. I mean, we're going to be playing this one straight through, but I was curious what you thought about glitch-based speedruns.
Glitch-based what now?
Well, some people, they figure out the ins and outs of how the game works and exploit that to kind of trick the game into doing things it wasn't designed to do, like beating this game in just a few minutes.
How would they do that?
Well, sometimes they'll parse through the game's code and...
Oh, so they are nerds.
Well, I don't...
Why they disrespect Mario? You want to play a Mario game, you play a Mario game. You want to be a nerd, go tumble some rocks. And there's so many better ways to spend your time, Professor. You make a nice linguine dinner, you spend time with your kids, you rotate your tires, you do your law.
So you see, you and Mario have more in common than you think, Fluff.
Ugh, I need a shower.
So the airship stage might be the one where if you grabbed that P-Wing from completing the first world, this might be the one where you want to use it, just fly over the whole thing. A Super Leaf still goes a long way, as it does in all these stages here in the final world in Super Mario Bros. 3, but your best bet is to stay aggressive, stay at the front of the screen, and take out these wrench-throwing baddies before they can get their wrenches off. And that if you hold back and wait a little bit too long to see where the next platform is going to appear. I mean, there is some value in that, certainly, but then you have wrenches coming right at you when you're trying to make a jump, and they'll more often than not hit you midway through the jump, stunt your jump, and you'll end up dying. So that's my recommendation. Stay aggressive, take out those rocky wrenches at the front of the screen. Just be careful that you don't accidentally slide into one of them, and yeah, easy way to lose your Super Leaf in that case. But moving on, I bring in Gary for a refresher on taking down some like the Boom Boom guys. But first, 8-1, difficult stage. Recommend using a Super Leaf here. And the first part, if you have one, you can fly up here and grab yourself some extra lives. There's just enough runway there at the start to get enough pace there to get your P meter all the way up, and then take off there going left to right. Grab yourself 3 extra lives right here, and then we have 5 coming up. We can end this stage effectively. This is a very tough stretch right here. Just from that pipe, come over just enough so that you're not revealing the cannons right there. Jump off the Koopa Troopa at the peak of... it's a little sloppy. All right. Well, we can do this. Just, you don't even need a lot of momentum there, as you can see. Next to that block, just coming with enough, and there we get our 5 spot. Yeah, just enough momentum that if you hold A just as that block is depressed there at the bottom, that's when you'll get that fling. It's a bit of a leap of faith, I'm not going to lie. My heart always skips a beat when I when I attempt that jump. But here in 8-2, we're going to take this sand pit down to the bottom and then cut left, and then drop through the pipe right here. We'll get ourselves a Super Leaf and knock out a bit more of this stage, so the less we have to force ourselves to survive through, the better. That's what I say. Just be confident right there with the Piranha Plant. Get some momentum once again with your Super Leaf. And drop down. This stage is pretty manageable if you have a Super Leaf coming into it, but yeah, 8-1, that jump right there, probably the other most difficult part. And now we have the very nebulous fortress here in Darkland. At the start, we're going to go all the way to the right, avoiding the obstacles. Going to want to have a Super Leaf, but there's plenty of opportunities to get yourself power-ups. Be careful when you come out that door. You're going to be on that conveyor belt, which is going to be moving you right to left. Mind the thwomp. Going to ignore any blocks, seeing as we already have ourselves our tail. Then we can use that to knock through these blocks right here. But yeah, everything you need is back in the other direction. But being that we have them, we're just going to carry on through this way. Trying to maintain this as much as possible, as we do have a a side-scrolling thwomp down here that we can avoid a little bit easier if we, well, in that case, have our P full so we can just fly over it. Ignore that first one after you hit that switch. Go into the right one, which you can't see right away. They sort of trick you into going in that first door, but that's not where we want to go. Wait for the conveyor belt to start up again. And Gary, refresher?
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beater.
Right, the boom boom. Jump on his head, retreat, and then time that next jump right when he jumps to hit him again. Repeat the step one more time. He takes 3 hits to take him down. You can repeat this every time you run in the boom boom, no matter which version, the flying version, the jumping version. It always works on the running version. This will always work. Trust me, take him down.
Thank you, Gary. And you see we made a left at that fork. If we went right, it would just take us back to the start. The gates have been opened up, so just a bit of a shortcut, I guess, if you get sent back or want to explore Darkland. But we just have one final tank level here, and yeah, these are, in my experience, some of the easier stages here. Once again, if you have the Super Leaf, even easier. Give yourself a little bit more hang time. Thread a couple more needles, but yeah, they're not too aggressive with the cannonballs here, just taking out the rocky wrenches so they don't pop up behind you and get a wrench off to make this relatively safe, low-level bullet hell right here. A little more manageable, but yeah, it's not too bad. Just as we mentioned in the first tank level, be wary and aware of the difference between some of these cannons firing out the bombs, others just straight ahead cannonballs, but not too difficult as we take on one final boom boom here in Super Mario Bros. 3 before we take on the final stage, Bowser's Castle. Doing pretty well on time here. Gonna just about hit our target of, roughly 15 minutes. As that final lock gives way, you can use whatever items you have at your disposal if you're feeling cocky right here. Just run through here. You can avoid the lasers or taking damage from the lasers, better said, if you run through at full speed. Take the elevator up, the invisible elevator, then ride that down, and I find it safer to just jump through these. It's safer to avoid damage by doing that, but when you got that speed, you just want to fly, right? I know I can't help myself, even though it's not the best idea. Because you want to save your Super Leaf for right here. Build up the momentum again, fly all the way up to the top, hugging the left wall to avoid the fireballs. Get to the top platform, and then drop in this second from the top. There's a Super Leaf there, or a mushroom in that block if you needed it, depending on your situation. Take your time here, not too difficult to avoid the fireballs that way. Thankfully, Bowser turned off most of his statues here, as these would be difficult to avoid otherwise. And I'll say it one last time, a Super Leaf helps right here, as I like to bait the fireballs before I make my jump. They move slow enough so that when you do bait one, you can make that jump and get in before he fires another one off at that height. But Gary, for the refresher on Bowser, take us home.
Boss Beater.
Alright, Bowser, pretty basic strategy. You want to lure him to the leftmost bricks, the ones that are above the pit, mind you, as we show. Jump to the center of the room at the last second. Go to the rightmost bricks like we show, and repeat. We're basically just trying to get that pit on the left side. Avoid his fireballs. If you do the pitfall, that'll kill him, obviously. 5 hammers will kill him, or 35 fireballs win the day.
Thank you, Gary. And in our full class, actually, Blaze mentioned how if you're small Mario or just crouched, the lower half of Bowser can't do any damage to you at all, so an alternate way to handle that. And Fluff covered a little trick you could use in that battle by using a P-Wing. So, again, you can check out our full class on Super Mario Bros. 3 for all the tips like that. But there we go. From pressing start to begin our game to dropping Bowser into that pit, that was 15 minutes, 36 seconds, not too shabby. That is the Super Mario Bros. 3 legitimate speedrun here on Video Games 101. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to enroll in this class. We do one of these classes every single week in the same spot. Love to have you along. Click that like button too if you don't mind. Really does help us out to make future classes for you. And leave a comment. Have you ever done it the super hacky, glitchy way in beating this game in just a few minutes. And, have you done the speed run as we did it right here with the couple warp whistles and just focusing on Darkland? Have you done that before? I'm willing to bet most of you have done that, but I'm willing to bet also, equally, most of you would prefer to play this game through in earnest, and I can't blame you one bit as we see all the wonderful lands which we missed out on here in Super Mario Bros. 3. Again, one last time, you can check out our full class on it via the link in the description, but there you go. That is our time for this week. We'll see y'all next week in the same spot for next week's class, right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.